Iran is charging Bitcoin tolls to move oil through the Strait of Hormuz. And in my opinion, this is probably some of the biggest geopolitical Bitcoin-centered news we've ever seen. And it outlines Bitcoin's exact use case in front of a global audience. Neutral, liquid, censorship-resistant money that nobody else can print and control. Very excited to talk about it tonight. Also, one of the biggest banks on the planet just launched a spot Bitcoin ETF. And yes, I'm tired of that type of news too. But before you say who cares, we're going to be talking about why this one is markedly different from the ones that have come before. There's some interesting notes there. And the New York Times claims they finally unmasked Satoshi Nakamoto. Who is it? And are they on crack? We're going to discuss this and plenty more. There's lots to get into. Strap in, drop a like on the video. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is Bitcast. The issue is not red or blue. The issue is between the state and you.
It can be a little bit of a warning sign.
It gives you a tool to empower.
That sounds like a utopia, my friend.
It is. It's exactly a utopia.
With Bitcoin, no one can take it from you.
All right, gentlemen, I'm very excited to get into this tonight. We will give a quick little shout out to Walker. He is obviously keeping a close eye on wife and baby to be and being an excellent husband in the process. So hats off to Walker. Carla, please feel better soon. I know it's going to be a road to recovery, but if anybody can handle it, it's you and the two of you together. So
if you want to get out of the show, there are easier ways to do it. He could have just asked.
Seriously. Come on, man. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the news here. So again, this is pretty wild, I've got to say. So Iran accepting Bitcoin for transit toll payments. This from the Financial Times. So basically, the tariff is $1 per barrel of oil, adding that empty tankers can pass freely. Once the email arrives and Iran completes its assessment, vessels are given a few seconds to pay in Bitcoin, ensuring they can't, well, this is the interesting part, they can't be traced or confiscated due to sanctions. Now, the traced, again, it's open blockchain, anybody can audit the transactions. The confiscation, that's pretty adept. That's a not an incorrect statement. Again, there's a Zero Hedge article that goes pretty deep on this. Lots of people weighing in here as well. Alex Gladstein, Human Rights Foundation, Bitcoin is money. It will eventually be what all energy exporters demand for payment, regardless of whether they are dictators or Democrats. We have Jack Mallers weighing in. Is Bitcoin actually competing to be the future world reserve currency? Yes. When you need money that nobody can debase, that is free to hold and receive, that is cheap to transfer, that is censorship resistant, and that even enemies can settle in, there is no second best. Predator. Big news. Bitcoin wins over gold here because gold can be seized. Bitcoin wins out over stable coins because Iran needs, not wants, the censorship-resistant characteristics, and Iran is purposefully trying to exit supporting the US dollar system in protest of the war. Some stats here. This will increase demand for Bitcoin by 270 Bitcoin per day. I feel like that's I don't know. I feel like that could be there is another one here talking about Iran is charging $2 million per ship. This is kind of like the average barrels per ship to cross the Strait of Hormuz. They want Bitcoin at 72K per coin. Each ship is 27.7 Bitcoin. Again, pre-crisis, 130 ships cross daily. So that's 3,600 Bitcoin per day, 108,000 Bitcoin per month, 1.3 million Bitcoin per year. Obviously, that's, money's going to change hands, all that kind of stuff. But just to give an idea of if this continues and this is the method to settle those tolls and those tools continue to exist, this is kind of the pressure that we can have on. And this is, again, pushing Bitcoin in front of a global stage in a way that shows that even the US government cannot censor this. And so I think this is a big fucking deal, but I'm really curious to get your guys' take as well.
Isn't it been quick?
Okay, go.
It's massive. I think it's bigger possibly than even what El Salvador was doing with making it legal tender, right? Because what you're going after now is those neutral international rails. This is reserve currency sort of stuff. It's not exactly Bitcoin for oil, right? Dethroning the petrodollar, but it's getting pretty damn close, right? And every country is going to need a strategy now to get or accumulate Bitcoin. So you've already an energy exporter that maybe isn't in good standing with the US dollar system. Why not just sell directly for Bitcoin so they can accumulate some so you can have passes through the Strait of Hormuz? Like, you're going to have a strategy now to get some to hold on to it and to be able to use it. It's also going to further incentivize, if we go back, and I'm sure Brandon will touch on this for sure, the whole idea of soft war, right? The idea of hash power, that Iran's not going to want to have their transactions not included in block templates. You're going to have other actors around the world that are also now going to have to participate in the global hash to make sure that their transactions are going through. And last thing before I toss it to Joey, I really hope, look, best practices, you don't reuse an address. CoinJoin's great. I really hope Iran doesn't. It's just a single address that they throw up. So the world has to sit there and watch how much Bitcoin they're accumulating by using it for the tolls as they're going through the strait. But Joey, I'm curious your thoughts.
You got to think there's a lot of people looking at the network traffic, right? Trying to figure out where that Bitcoin's going. I mean, somebody will find it at some point. Maybe Zach XBT can take some time off from exposing Telegram scams and figure out where the money's going. The biggest thing here, I think, is that what have we been told for the last little while? That if you look at central banks, balance sheets, and treasury strategies, the accumulation has been in gold. All these guys are buying gold, and Bitcoin has no place. And certainly the Bitcoin bears and naysayers. Like, you're never going to see Bitcoin as an apolitical international asset. It's just not going to be a reserve asset for central banks or governments. Well, I don't know. I think if you want to move oil, you're going to do it in whatever currency that those guys want that oil moved in. And it seems to me like there's at least the sort of bigger. There's no better option here than Bitcoin. The people are talking about stables too you can use, but Bitcoin,
those can be seized, those can be frozen. They do it all the time.
Yep. Yeah. What happened there? Where did we go?
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
Oh, okay. It's a little more obfuscatable, and I would say the other big thing about this whole story is that the word on the street, it's not been confirmed, but that the toll system is a joint U.S.-Iran endeavor. So this is for the people who are upset that Trump didn't do the SBR, at least not in the way that we hoped he would, that he's been a Bitcoin campaigner, but not necessarily a Bitcoin president. What do you think now? Do you think does this help your view of Trump as the Bitcoin president? I'm not sure that it does for me yet, but let's wait and see. I think this is a pretty big step. It's an admission, at least, that this thing works in times where dollars or gold don't. And I think that's been a big, big argument from the down talkers over the years. I don't know how long this is going to last. Obviously, I think the ceasefire may already be over, to be honest with you. I haven't looked at all the reports today, but the fact that this is the way they went right off the hop, that's a good sign, man. I like it.
I have a question for you guys. Maybe Brandon will ask you, but do you see a situation? Well, I kind of think something is inevitable, is that, again, on a global scale, what we're seeing is a country that has had sanctions, that cannot transact, basically saying like, fuck it, we'll use Bitcoin. And this is because nobody can stop it. Trump ran and very much catered to the Bitcoin and kind of crypto space and appealed to them as a voting base. And, it definitely contributed to him getting his second term. Do you see a situation where now that in the mainstream, the cat's out of the bag, like nobody can stop this, do you see a situation where Iran's like, all right, listen, this is what we're doing, we're using this, and then Trump does an about face and starts hating on Bitcoin, and then we get shit regulations? And to pair with that, the left has been hating Bitcoin because Trump's been saying it's great. Do we see a switcheroo because nobody can handle people that they don't like using things?
Yeah. I mean, this is This is kind of, and it's not like this is right out of the Don Rowe doctrine to a degree, right? It's just like this inverted philosophical world where, like, whatever you say, which is, going on a tangent for a quick second, the left, for whatever reason, has not figured this out for now, 10 years he's been in office or whatever, where it's like, if you would have just like agreed with him and told him how large he is, then he would have like done what you wanted him to do. This is wild. So that's a whole nother topic for a different day. But yeah, I mean, like the best use case, I love where you're going with that, Ben, because that's just like the classic, Bitcoiner thinking, going to logical end state, which I had not thought of, but very well could be the case. And we talked about this the other day too. Stable coins obviously that's all they've done over the last year and a half or whatever it's been. And there's no money in stable coins theoretically. Like, people aren't owning stable coins and I'm going to donate to the president. It was the Bitcoiners who they needed. And then, oh, by the way, it's kind of the bait and switch once they get in. But at the same time, I will have people go look at how much American Bitcoin mining owns. That alone, they have 7,000 Bitcoin. So it's like, if you don't think that the Trumps know the strategic gaming that's going on, I mean, come on, I got some oceanfront property in Nebraska to sell you. As they have, I don't know how many rental properties they have, but the units per se, but they have 7,000 Bitcoin. Do they have 7,000 units? I mean, maybe it's 10,000, maybe it's 20,000, maybe it's 5,000. I don't know how many exactly. So I think people need to remember that, but this is, one of the things that I think of too is like Elvin Toffler's book, The Future Shock, in 1970 that he wrote. And it's like, the people of the future are gonna have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's what's, again, everything's being rewritten just in real time right now. And just, for all the smooth brains, all my smooth brains out there, I was just laughing. Like, I tweeted that earlier today, where it's like AI and stable coins are out there orange pilling more people in the background without anyone even knowing it. Like, they don't even know they're being orange pilled, whether it's, the AI, and it's like all these things going on. And so all we've heard as Bitcoiners for years is, oh, did the NSA create it? Were they just using you guys as exit liquidity and all this stuff? And in reality, to like what you just said, Ben, could be completely inverse. Here it is again. Like, I could make a case that they got AI going and they got stablecoins going to psyop people and get them used to wallets and exchanges and how to use all these things in open source code with Claude. And now, oh, by the way, here's Bitcoin, which is all of these things. I mean, it's so mind bending to see what's going on. And the last thing I'll say is the use case, to your point, the Canadian truckers, which we talked about many times, obviously you guys for years being involved. Here we are. You can say, hey, I'm Nayib Bukele, I'm Donald Trump, I'm the Bitcoin guy, I'm passing laws, yeehaw. And that converts some people. But the best ways to get adoption are to have a moron like Justin Trudeau out here stripping rights from people. Well, guess what? A lot of people orange pilled. Same thing here when you have Iran, someone doing something of actual, we'll call it bottom up, theoretically, use case where, hey, I need this for this reason because I am strapped, I am censored, I'm frozen. These are the cases where all of a sudden people go just exponential education moments, and we're seeing this in real time, something we've all been talking forever, and it's playing right out in front of everyone, in front of 8 billion people right now.
Love it. Ben?
Yeah. So I something that I honed in on that you were saying there is, again, like, did the NSA created all this kind of stuff. The best part about this is, in my opinion, well, there's many great parts about it, but it's also going to point out for anybody that thinks like, oh, like it even fucking matters who created it. This ruins that entire narrative too, because if people think that like the Epstein class and all those people like created it, well, those people don't want Iran to use it. And it just shows like, well, they're fucking using it and they're not able to censor it. They can't reverse shit. So like, it's just, it flies in the face of, well, so-and-so created it so they can reverse it and they can censor it and everything. Well, fucking try. It's great. I love it. Nathan, I want to hear your thoughts here too.
Well, one thing I wanted to quickly point out, because I think it's really important for the conversation that we're having here. So let me just pull this up on screen. It's already on BTC Map. So in case you guys were wondering, Strait of Hormuz, already there on BTC Map. You want to spend some Bitcoin? You want to move some oil? Go ahead and check that one out there. The other thing that I want to just throw in there, and then Joey, I'll get your thoughts there as well. So Iran has been sanctioned for over 45 years, and I was reminded of this today here as well too. It's interesting because this wouldn't have been they wouldn't have just thought of this idea today, right? They would have thought about this idea before. There would have been some planning. I'm sure they've already got their cold card, which I just find it hilarious to imagine that they're using a cold card to deal with the funds going through the Strait of Hormuz. But I just wanted to point out, just remind everybody that following the Iranian strike back in June, when we took out the nuclear facilities, if you remember those got bombed by the B-2 bombers, we saw a major drop in hash rate. Well, that's interesting. I'm sure it's only because we had the climate issues down there in Texas, but I think it's worth pointing out that this country that got bombed back in June and we took out their nuclear, we saw a giant drop in hash rate. They've been sanctioned for 45 years, maybe planning how to get around it or finding ways to get around sanctions and have neutral money. And now they're demanding that they get paid in Bitcoin to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. But Joey, just wanted to point that out and then get your thoughts, my friend.
How is the price of gold doing since the announcement, right?
Interesting that you said that. Do you have the chart?
I don't have it handy, but I'm guessing it's like 1.5 or a point maybe compared to Bitcoin's 4 points or 3 points, whatever it's been.
Let me pull it up. I got it handy.
Pull it up. While you're pulling it up, like we've outperformed since the war started, and now in a place where you'd expect to see gold perform, it's not performing. And the reason, I think, my suspicion is that for countries, and this is just starting, right? Today is really the day zero of this. My suspicion is that countries will not sell their own currency. They will sell this instead, right, to get the Bitcoin. So I'm interested in seeing how this chart performs. There's obviously been this tango of correlation between gold and Bitcoin since we started trading years and years ago. Let's see what people part with, right? We've heard that Bitcoin is the most liquid thing, and now you need it so you can buy it with maybe the other most liquid thing. We'll see, I guess, what this looks like.
Well, on that note too, I'm just looking at the Bitcoin versus gold chart here, and over the last 5 days, we had the big jump. And we're still kind of marching up a little bit here. We're marching up. That's a very interesting point because you're right. They're not going to want to risk debt. They want that fiat printer. They need that. Fiat
You'll
printer.
Damage your own currency, right? Like if you start selling your currency at a significant clip, forex markets are pretty sharp. They're not going to let that slide. They're going to punish you for that.
There's another aspect here too, Nathan. You're talking about potential hash rate and Iran and all of this. Well, again, what's the main crux of why they're using Bitcoin in the first place? Censorship resistance.
Ben got cut off for a second there.
Sorry about
Welcome
that.
back in.
My bad. I don't know. Come on, Restream. Let's get it together here. Anyways, I've got an important thought. I need to get it out. Okay, so you're talking about hash rate in Iran. They're using Bitcoin because it's censorship resistant. Well, there's all this concern of centralization of hash rate in particular jurisdictions. This is a direct incentive for competing jurisdictions to all mine Bitcoin to ensure that it remains censorship resistant. Like this is like the global hash wars, I think, are just beginning because everybody's going to throw their hat in the ring. One, to obtain Bitcoin, but two, to ensure that their transactions get mined and added to blocks.
100%.
Like this is amazing.
This is 2022 all over again, in a way. Like this is
Love it.
Bretton Woods 4.0. It's wild. And the other thing I want to throw in there too is what you guys are saying. It's like, do we have all the information to confirm these things? No, we don't. All we can do is deduce these things, and try to, play things out. But that's what everyone's doing. I mean, we talked offline right beforehand. Everyone mind reading, thinking they're in the situation room. You got every idiot in the world, I mean, Tucker Carlson on down, right, left, right, doesn't matter. And they're just talking like they're in the situation room. So it goes right in line with also another bullet point just to throw out there that we were told that the facilities were taken out in Operation Midnight Hammer in June, right? So all of a sudden,
don't forget, Brandon, before that in March, Tulsi Gabbard came out and said that there was no nukes. There wouldn't have any issues there 3 months before.
They called the Operation Midnight Hammer?
Somebody's cucked in that office. Yeah, I just thought of that one.
Best hits in the summer of 03.
That's the small chair in the hotel set up there.
Okay, yeah, boner jams.
Honestly, like all of the names are so like it sounds like a 5-year-old child is making these operations. Like, didn't Iran say like Operation Crushing Revenge? Like, come on, like who are we? Like, these are world leaders. Come on,
Unreal.
I love it.
Anyway, I wanted to throw it out there because it plays right into this of like hash rate went down. We were told the nuclear was all about the nuclear, this and that. But why are we going back? That's what people are freaking out. So many people freaked out a month ago. Why are we going back? Were we lied to? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it just goes to what we were talking about offline before the show. I think a lot of people are missing what's happening. They don't see where the puck is going. They didn't see the guy that dumped the puck in around the boards coming up the other side, the far blue line, guys. You got to get to the far blue line. And most people are just lost. They're lost right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also want to point out, because I know there's going to be a lot of chatter about it from the no corners and the people who hate Bitcoin out there. They're going to say, see, Bitcoin is for terrorists. Bitcoin is for the worst people in the world. It's for criminals. But that's exactly the point. That's exactly the point you want to hone in on, is the fact that, yes, even Iran, the U.S. can't do shit about it if they want Bitcoin.
I think you guys are terrorists up in Canada. I'm sure I'm probably pretty close, right? So I mean, right
I'm on
there,
a list.
Is it for us? Is it
Joey's
for us? I don't
on
know.
many lists,
Yeah,
including banned customer lists, probably.
It's all relative. All relative.
Gents, I want to close this topic out with a couple things. One, again, biggest news that I've personally seen in Bitcoin in quite some time. Like this for me, Nathan, I think you're right. It trumps the El Salvador news, because that's news that can be like that was big at the time, but obviously it could be rug pulled. IMF pressure. What happens? No more illegal tender law, right? But this is just a demonstration of censorship resistance and why it's necessary. And that's something that you can't really put back in you can't put that genie back in the bottle. Once people see it, they understand it, they're going to gravitate towards it. The other thing is, I'm really, you alluded to it, I'm really fucking curious how they're managing that. Let's hope to the Lord that they're using some type of a multi-sig setup. Like they're not just like stringing it along. Maybe, hopefully it's not just like a custodied Coinbase account.
I just see a dude there with like Aqua Wallet being like, okay, now we're going to swap to Liquid today.
Yeah. It's just,
Hey, Rick,
it's great. So,
double check this.
The other thing I wanted to say, tweet of the day, this gentleman regularly pumps out absolute bangers. Hats off to creator of Seedor, Chris, because he nailed it with this one. Meanwhile, the gays of Hormuz require payment in Ethereum. that is. I mean, does it get it any more A-tier tweet than that? I think
is that guy actually like 6'6"? Like I keep on seeing these memes.
He's like
massive.
6'7".
He's
crazy.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. Good for him.
Yeah. Awesome.
Dude.
Hilarious guy.
Amazing.
Anyways, I thought that was amazing. On the other side of the hop, we are going to be chatting about a couple things. Next segment, we're going to be talking about what is this new Bitcoin ETF? Why is it any different? Because it is markedly different from prior entrants, in my opinion. There's some qualities to it, and a reason why I think it's worth noting, and why it actually may have more impact than BlackRock launching their IBIT. I think this could actually be a little bit more impactful, not because of the size of the institution, but because of the type of institution it is. And then beyond that, we're going to talk about who is Satoshi Nakamoto, or is the New York Times retard of the week. So it's one of those two things that we're going to have to touch on. Side note, myself, Nathan, Brandon, Walker, and Not Stupid Joey are all going to be in Vegas. You guys should probably come down, because myself and Nathan are also going to be running some workshops. We're going to be covering self-custody, multi-sig, privacy, how not to get your Bitcoin stolen, and even if somebody kicks in your door, all kinds of great stuff. So make sure you head on down. You can scan the QR code on the screen, or go to b.tc/conference. Use code BTC Sessions. You'll get 10% off your tickets. So getting excited for that one. Need to get away from the perpetual snow of Calgary. But if you're enjoying the conversation, drop a like on the video. We're going to be back in just a moment. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen, or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC Sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The Cold Card Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The Tap Signer gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started, or for convenience when traveling. You can head to coinkite.com and use code BTC Sessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away. One company I like pointing people to when they ask about Bitcoin mining is Abundant Mines. They were founded by Bo and Christine Turner after losing over $500,000 to broken promises in the mining industry. And they built their hosting model to remove the usual headaches. With Abundant Mines, you own your machines and keep 100% of the Bitcoin you mine. There's no revenue share, no hidden skims. Pricing is simple. One flat monthly fee covers power, parts, labor, and repairs. They also guarantee uptime. If a machine goes down, their hash rate redirect system routes hash power from their fleet so earnings don't just stop. And every machine is insured at full replacement value. Everything is hosted in the US, powered by Hydro, and mining equipment may qualify for 100% year one bonus depreciation. Learn more at abundantmines.com/sessions. All right, let's chat about this latest Bitcoin ETF because, like many people, I'm certain everyone's kind of just tired of the topic. Like, another Bitcoin ETF. Who gives a shit? But I was looking at it, and this is markedly different from some of the prior entrants. So let's chat about it. So, see people in the chat already know what's up. Morgan Stanley, spot Bitcoin ETF. Officially trading on the New York Stock Exchange. It is on track to be in the top 1% of ETF launches. And on top of this, Morgan Stanley itself, it is the first bank to launch a spot Bitcoin ETF. They have 16,000 financial advisors to promote it. So why is this different? Let's kind of do a contrast and compare with something like BlackRock, because BlackRock is a much larger asset manager. So like, why would Morgan Stanley be a bigger deal in my opinion? And that's because BlackRock creates financial products, but then they market those products to other institutions that then market them to their clients. And so there's kind of like a degree of separation. So there's not like a direct incentive for other financial institutions to go and market these things. They're peddling somebody else's product, and yes, they can make profits off of that, but there's a degree of separation there. Morgan Stanley is a bank themselves, as I said, with 16,000 financial advisors. And this is their product, it is their bank, their product, and they are directly incentivized to market this to their clients, of which there are an insane amount. And as I said, that's network of 16,000 financial advisors, all of them have likely just been told, all right, it's time to market our new product. And so now you're going to have ma and pa boomers sitting in there being like, what am I allocated to? And it's probably going to be at least a couple percent of this. Right. Like I think that it's going to start to creep in, and it's going to start to become a regular part of my financial advisor has me spread across. I don't know, because nobody ever does, but it's going to include the next Morgan Stanley product, which is Bitcoin. So caveat, don't go fucking buy an ETF.
God, you just had to say it. You had to say it. You know?
Of course I had to.
Self-custody.
Joey, how do you feel about that?
I know that Bitcoin Mentor does not have an ETF product, so I can see why you want people. I'm just kidding. It's interesting. There's a couple things to point to, and you touched on a few of them, but we'll try and drill down here. That's what we do on Bitcast. There's a lot of data out there around the boomer investment allocation selection. And most of it revolves around a couple of different things. It's gold, bonds, ETF equities, dividend aristocrat type portfolios, and basically, stability over growth. Certainly at this point in the lifespan of a boomer, right? Most of the boomers now are 65 and up, and they're looking to become net sellers as opposed to net buyers, and they're looking for stability as opposed to volatility. Goes without saying. Now, the interesting part of all this is that boomers, I think, we've talked about on the show, maybe not directly, but we'll talk about it now. Boomers are going to find themselves in just a bit of a pinch in places like Canada, the US, Europe. Why? Because the cost of living is outpacing their guaranteed benefits. And we've seen this a million times. There's a lot of good thinking around the reason for a measurement like CPI from federal governments being always a little under what actual cost of living increases look like That reason is because it guarantees entitlements don't just suddenly have to ramp by 8% year over year. This is the case for stuff in Ontario like OPSU and other public sector unions as well. They use some variant of the CPI measurement, and the CPI growth year over year for your pension is capped. So as we know, over the last 5 years, that pinch has really started to hurt boomers. How do we know this? We look at the unemployment data in Canada and we see that while youth unemployment is rising, over 65 unemployment is falling. So whether or not they want to, they can tell you that it's a social exercise to go pick up a T4 type gig at a Walmart or McDonald's. But the fact of the matter is, I think they're feeling the pinch. So what does this mean? It means that they're looking for an investment vehicle that's lowish volatility, but could be high growth. And they're not looking to put a ton of their portfolio into it. They're looking to put a little bit in. Bitcoin fits that mold. Now, even better, if you ask boomers why they don't have Bitcoin, it's not because they don't trust the asset. Bitcoin is well enough known now that most boomers, thanks to their kids, thanks to the TV, thanks to whatever, TikTok, boomers love TikTok. It's like catnip for the boomers.
Really?
They love TikTok. They get on there and they see the Bitcoin stuff. So they say, okay, I want some, but I don't know how to get it. And they don't really want to go to their phone or their app or whatever and say, yeah, I'm going to send a picture of my ID, take a picture of me holding a newspaper, turn my head side to side, whatever else goes on at these KYC outlets. I haven't KYC'd in a long time. I don't know exactly what they do now, but I know it's greater points. There's a greater point of friction now than there was, 5 years ago. They don't want to do that. What you find in survey data is that boomers actually want Bitcoin, but they want it from someone they can trust. Well, who do they trust? They trust the person who's been doing their investment for them forever. It's the guy they see at the bank. And so when you talk about products like this JP Morgan product, it is JP Morgan, right? Morgan Stanley, sorry.
Morgan Stanley, yep.
How many Morgans are there? I don't know. When you talk about the Morgan Stanley product, Ben, you're raising a good point here. You're lowering the points of friction for the investor, but also for the advisor. The advisor doesn't have to worry about partnerships with these other products. They are the lowest fee products. So they're naturally are the best thing in the market for people who want Bitcoin exposure, but don't want to hold their own keys. This is the right population for that. Now, the interesting thing, there's a Canadian angle here. And I know we don't have all Canadian listeners, but I'll say it anyway. OSFI here in Canada, which is our bank regulator, starting in 2026, increased the number of the percentage allocation a bank can have to Bitcoin related assets. So if you want to start an ETF, BMO and TD and all these banks up here have ETFs that their advisors recommend. They generally package them in mutuals, as some people might know. That number 5x'd between 25 and 26 from 1% to 5%. So now you're talking about $1 trillion institutions able to hold 5% of their net assets, their tier one assets is the proper term, in Bitcoin. That means you can issue an ETF if you want to. And so I think this opens the door for that. Will Canadian banks do it? I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. We had the first ETF, as you guys know, the Purpose Trust or whatever I think it was. I forget. But yeah. And the other interesting thing is, even as these ETFs are trying to outpace each other on the fee thing, do you know that they've all seen growth since issuance? All of them. So like people want these products, and it's up to banks to offer them and product issuers to offer them. You got to like this story, man. I'm with you that it doesn't match the sort of high quality, trustless asset that custodial Bitcoin could give you, non-custodial, I should say, or self-custody Bitcoin. But we've had this disagreement on the air before. We don't have to relitigate it tonight. There is a spectrum of people, a continuum of people who want certain things and will stop invariably at some point of friction. And for a lot of people, this is it. I really like this story. I think you're going to see more of this, and the investment's going to come from places that we just don't anticipate, which is nice to see.
I just want to point out a few things because Joey, I agree with the sentiment, and Ben, of course, self-custody, always self-custody. We're going to do the self-custody thing, but there's going to be that huge cohort that wants to get it. They want something simple, and this is another avenue. I think what I'm most excited about, because we've got $6 trillion of client assets with Morgan Stanley, right? They're doing, I got it here somewhere. It's like 0.14, 14 basis points is the fee. So we're seeing that race to the bottom.
Do you know what the one above it is by any chance? Like how much did they beat by?
I think BlackRock is 25 basis points, but don't quote me on that. I remember BlackRock and Fidelity, I think we're sitting in like the 33, 25 basis points, somewhere in there. I just remember when it was compared to like Grayscale Trust, it was way less, so something along those lines.
Okay.
So they're racing to compressing the margin on the fees. But what I'm most excited about, you talked about there, is the financial advisors. Now just jump back to the first story that we were talking about, right? financial advisors are always going to need to cover their ass. Well, it's their company now that's putting out the ETF, so you're good to go ahead and sell it and put it out there. And you just got another major narrative to explain why this will likely go up. There's going to be demand for it in the future, right?
Yep.
So now every financial advisor is going to see this on the news. They're going to hear this story. It's like, well, we have reason to think there's going to be international demand for Bitcoin for the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe we should allocate a little bit in there. And if you got 16,000 of these guys talking to what, like 20 customers, there's 320,000 people that are investing funds with Morgan Stanley. I always get those fuckers mixed up. And again, it's pushing the narrative back out there. We haven't had a story or excitement in Bitcoin for quite a while. Ben, to your point, kicking off the section, no one gives a shit about treasury companies and stuff.
Yeah.
We need, like, humans need a story. They need a reason to go like, oh, I'm not too late. I should get in now. Now is a good time, right? And so I think it gives a safe conversation piece for financial advisors to talk with all their clients and put Bitcoin back in their mouth. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, these passive flows, I think, are kind of like a stopgap. They're a little bit of a bridge in a way. Obviously, self-custody, number one, defund the system. At the same time, pragmatically speaking, like Walker and Joey have talked about, this bridge world. The older generation, that's what they have, that's what they know. And to me, it's just this bridge where we started the show with the Iran stuff. I mean, all these things are going to happen. The Canadian trucker thing, the Dutch farmer, the climate lockdowns we've talked about in the show, all the stupid things are going to continue happening. The printing like crazy. So the older generation, that's what they know, are these passive funds, like what's happening here, without them thinking, it just goes in. That's great. And it's going to keep booming the price of Bitcoin. But then as time goes on over this next 10 years or so, the younger generation will be taking that stuff out as the wealth transfers and the older generation sunsets, because at the end of the day, these things, they're going to break. The younger generation already doesn't care about these things, doesn't even have them. And they're going to have, when you layer on the dumb things that are absolutely going to continue happening and trusting the system, again, just going down and down and down, it's just this perfect storm. So to me, it's hard to see because we're in this bridge gap. So both things are true. Like, both of what, Joey and Walker says, and then what Nathan and Ben say are both true. It's just like, what end of the spectrum are you living on? Kind of what's your learned, what existence are you in? It's all relative. And I think we talked about this on Monday too. Sailor just bought another 5,000 Bitcoin, and there's salesmen for Bitcoin everywhere, right? Like it's all good for Bitcoiners wherever you are. And that's what I think people sometimes miss as well, where yes, we're in this bridge phase, and the whales, that slows down at some point and stalls out. And what do we have? The people who have bought in are now at their basis, we'll call it right around their basis, of what they've bought in at. So these people are going to wait for 5-10 years minimum. And this just keeps happening. This is why Bitcoin has the higher highs and higher lows. Just like if you go back 5 years ago, one of the viral posts recently of, hey, it's 65,000, it's 65,000 now. Well, it's like, yeah, that was the high 5 years ago, and it couldn't hold it for like more than a day or two. Now it's been shopping sideways for months. And so when you zoom out, you see this continually happening. We're setting these bases, and this just plays out over and over and over again. And as humans, we just can't see these exponentials. It's just very hard to see how this is going. And economics is simple. It's just supply and demand at the end of the day. And only the low time preference people are going to be the ones who are truly rewarded at the end of the day.
Yeah, just pulling up here too. The market, like poly market, thinks we're going up, right? That's where the sentiment is currently shifting. We're seeing that we've got the bulk coming in at over 75,000 for April, right? And it makes perfect sense, right? It's a story that is going to capture the imagination that people are going to be talking about, and obviously it's going to drive more demand for Bitcoin. We're going to see that. So I would expect this to continue. I still think that we are going up over the year. We'll see how it plays out, but I ultimately think that's the direction that we're going. Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we settled into, I mean, Brandon, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Like, yeah, we have a high, in this range in 2021? Yeah, for like a hot minute twice, right? Like it wasn't,
literally.
We didn't hang out there very, very much. I remember going actually to the Miami conference in, what was it, 22? And it was just devastation, right? Like everybody's feeling, it was like, oh, we had hit, it was 60 something. And then we were chilling out at 30 during the conference, and everybody's like, oh, and then again, we got like a taste of it near the end of the year, and everybody thought this is it, just like flying through 100, and thus began 4 years of Yellow having to do Don't Stop Believing every single day.
Oh, that was magical. That was so magical.
Yeah, and so like everybody was so certain that we were going to 100K during that cycle, and it just wasn't meant to be. And again, but it's the power of Bitcoin is not in the peaks. The power of Bitcoin, in my opinion, is like look at the cyclical lows, and if you just kind of DCA over time, and again, just like provide value for others, spend less than you earn, and save in a money nobody can print, it's a pretty good recipe for success. You don't need to, like, as long as you can do those things, then you're going to be sitting pretty. And I think this is the main takeaway here.
Joey brought this up the other day. It was the 200-day moving average. Like it's just in what you're saying, Ben. I mean, people overcomplicate this. You know, like this, the promise of Bitcoin has not changed. The properties have not changed, and people overcomplicate the hell out of this, trying to get an activity bias, trying to outthink themselves. And it's, again, of course, most of us went to government-run schools for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, and you're trained to, you know, I got to keep, you know, it's true or false, and a Scantron test, and like that's not how life works. You know, Occam's razor. The simplest answer is almost always the right answer. And even Elon's theory, the most entertaining answer is almost always the correct answer. What's going to happen? And people just, they overlook this. Who is selling going forward? You know, if you look at the whales that are selling and have been selling the last 2 years, at some point that runs out. They don't sell anymore. Maybe they sell to zero, but they probably won't. They're still going to keep some. And then who's selling? You had that. We've ran out of people. We're running out of people to sell. So now we've set this floor at, call it 60, 80, whatever it is. And these people will be in for 10 years. It's nation states starting to come in. It's these ETFs, all these players, or just the average pleb buying. These people are going to be selling generally, I mean, a couple percent, but they're not selling tomorrow or next week when it goes up to 100 per se, right? They're getting in. We set this new base, to your point, Ben. The lows are where that stabilization is built and those launch pads going forth. And that's why I think like this right here, that 200-day moving average or the network effect, maybe the log chart, whatever you want to kind of term it. This is one of the things that orange pilled me. I mean, I guess I should bring that up. This is 10 years ago where I just kind of looked at it and was like, oh my gosh, like this is not the linear chart thing up and down like, you know, you're told on, you know, CNBC or from Jim Cramer or something like that. Like this is a real network growing with the hash power of, you know, 20 nuclear reactors. We've never seen anything like this. This
is our generation's crack at something a million times better than what the boomers had with real estate.
Yep.
Right. Like I think that for at least for a while where we may not have the euphoria of like the insanity of previous cycles, like the 2017, like start the year at 1,000, end at 20. Like, I think we're not going to see that, but what we will see is like years later when you're just kind of chilling out and just stacking sats and not really thinking about it too much, people will look back and be like, well, yeah, you could have got it at 60 or 70 and now it's like 1.2. Of course you're doing fine now. Yeah, but you had to sit through it. Like the sentiment of the past 4 or 5 months has been trash. And so if you're a person that sat through that and was able to hold on and maybe stack a little bit more, yeah, you're going to be the person that years from now, everybody's like, oh, well, you of course it was a no brainer. Then fuck you, man. Do you know how much it sucked ass listening to everybody chew each other out over every tiny little thing through that entire period? So if you're holding on and you're stacking right now, and prior to like, oh, we get some exciting news today, then fucking good for you. Like these are the times when your dynastic wealth is built, not when everybody's kicking open the door to buy Bitcoin.
Guys, I was just pulling that one up there quick too from Bitcoin News. At today's prices, Iran would accumulate a larger Bitcoin stack than MSTR in 8 months via their Hormuz toll booth. Do you think another MSTR in 8 months is going to maybe move the price a little?
Is that true?
Yeah, and that makes sense based on the numbers, right? Because you're going like a couple thousand per day or whatever it was earlier.
Yeah.
Unreal. One thing really quick I was thinking of is Adam Meister just posted a video from 10 years ago, right? And it was like $700 is the price. And he was just like saying everyone was getting chirped relentlessly. Like, oh, you bought it $700 and you didn't get it in double digit Bitcoin. Like, you moron. Like, you're such an idiot. Like, you're just a useful idiot. And it's just, again, zoom out. It's you can implore people to just zoom out. And you mentioned it too, Ben. Like, so that was the past 10 years ago. Then you fast forward and you just kind of mentioned this 10 years from now. The volatility, even though it might come down, so say it's a 30% drop or 40, or let's just say a 40% drop. But if the Bitcoin goes to 2 million and then drops 40% down to 1.2 million, it's an $800,000 drop. $800,000. We just did a $60,000 drop and it was down 50%, right? The volatility was even greater, but we only dropped 60,000. And that's the thing that it doesn't really go away. Like, that's still going to continue to happen. The people buying now, like we said a minute ago, they're right here, their cost basis, but they hold 10 years, and you're going to have these same talks of people saying, oh my gosh, like the sky is falling. It's like, we went from 65,000 up to 2 million and back down to 1.2, and you're pissed off. So it's perspective.
That day is coming. I can't wait for that day to come. We talked about like the drop from 100K and everyone would lose their mind over it. It's like, yeah, that day is coming. We're just like, Bitcoin dropped by 400,000 and it's like 30% down and people are freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so gents, we're gonna segue into the next section in a moment here. Again, New York Times bombshell report. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto? Apparently they figured it all out. And so in honor of Walker, all four of us are going to pile on to retard of the week, because this is the most retarded shit I've read in some time. So look forward to that. But also, actually, to counterbalance it, I've got a tweet that I think is win of the week. I think it's a solid win. I like it. Right. So we'll we'll have a palate cleanser after we dunk on the retards.
Radio teased, Ben. Nice work.
No worries. I do what I can. The other thing that I was going to also say for everybody, and I don't know if I even have it. Maybe Nathan can pull it up for me. No, I don't have it. That's fine. Either way, we'll be back in just a moment. If you're enjoying the conversation, make sure you drop a like in the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this wherever you're watching it. We'll see you guys in just a sec. If you're a homeowner and you want more Bitcoin, Horizon just opened a whole new door. Most of your wealth is locked in your house, growing a few % per year, while Bitcoin has historically grown far faster. Horizon lets you convert a portion of your home's future value directly into Bitcoin without taking a loan. No monthly payments, no interest, no term limits. You stay in your home and you fully control and custody your Bitcoin. There's no forced liquidation, no margin calls, and no income requirement. You unlock tax-free cash today, and Horizon simply receives an agreed-upon share of your home's future appreciation when you sell or refinance. Hundreds of homeowners are already doing this in over 21 states. So, go to joinhorizon.com and see your Bitcoin potential in about 90 seconds. Turn your home into a personal Bitcoin treasury with Horizon. Securing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With NUNCHUK's HONEYBADGER plan, you get state-of-the-art multi-sig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. NUNCHUK is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The HONEYBADGER plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, ColdCard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the HONEYBADGER plan. DEBIFI is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multi-sig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the ColdCard Mark IV and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional-grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to debify.com to check them out, or simply scan the QR code on the screen. All right, we ready for this? Walker, this one goes out to you. I'm certain you would have made the right decision and featured the New York Times and the author of this piece, John Carreyrou. Whatever it is, whatever his name is, doesn't matter. The author of this piece as retard of the week. So we'll do it in your stead. So yes, bombshell report from the New York Times.
Oh my God, the graphic.
I know
Oh.
the censored photo. Who could that possibly be?
Who is it? The like eyes in the corner. Like,
Adam Black.
oh, we've.
That's right.
Oh my God. Bitcoin's founder, Satoshi Nakamoto, has remained hidden for 17 years, a trail of clues and a year of digging by our reporter, John Carreyrou, led us to a 55-year-old computer scientist in El Salvador named Adam Back. Like nobody's ever heard of the fucking guy. Come on, give me a break.
Breaking news.
Anyways, it's just this absolute slop. And it's all based on what? The same shit that's been peddled for years of like, well, he does two spaces after a period. Well, the way that he writes and uses these phrases, well, he does the British spelling of these words. It's like, come the fuck on, guys. What are we talking about here? I'm going to rattle off every asshole who's come along and said, oh no, this is Satoshi. Okay. So over the years, first of all, what was it? I can't remember the outlet. Newsweek. Dorian Nakamoto. They looked in a fucking phone book and found a guy whose last name was Nakamoto, and was like, oh, it's the creator of Bitcoin, and it was plastered everywhere. This is journalism. So that was
Found
one.
him. Found him.
Journalism.
This is
Nailed
journalism. That's the fucking
No
problem.
one's ever-
This
no
is
one's ever looked at
journalism.
the phone.
Yeah, and they run this story and like, yeah. So okay, and then Nick Szabo, he's been flagged for years. Again, early cypherpunk. He created BitGold. He was a serious cypherpunk. Wrote shelling out. He knows his shit, but again, not Satoshi. Hal Finney, first person to ever interact with Satoshi. A lot of people suppose it might be him. Again, like these have all been thrown around. Beyond that, Len Sassman, another person, cypherpunk. He actually, if I'm not mistaken, he committed suicide.
He did. Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't say that on YouTube. YouTube, we did not use that word.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
you are correct.
Wow.
He did. And he
Yeah.
was a student of Chom.
Yes, yeah. And again, he died back in 2011, which would coincide kind of with when Satoshi fell off and was kind of out of the picture at that point. So a lot of people point to that. But again, like all of these things, all of these people have been pointed to through the same methodology that was used here. It's like, well, how's he write? And like, does he use a double space after that? Like, it's all the same bullshit. Beyond that, of course, we had the Craig Wright debacle. Fuck that guy. But he comes out and says, I am Satoshi, except for a court has ruled that he is specifically he's the only person on earth that a court has ruled is not Satoshi. And then there was a documentary that came out last year. And funny enough, in that documentary, Adam Back is in the scene where they reveal to the guy who they're going to say is Satoshi, and it's Peter Todd, and both of them start laughing. So like, and now again, New York Times, Adam Back is Satoshi. What are we doing here?
Well,
First and foremost, I know for certain that it's not Adam Back because those Satoshi coins would already be in a treasury company if it was. So it's not him. We can write that off.
Gambling
That's right.
mention for
That's
sure.
right.
He's a speculative man.
Do you know what's funny? So okay, this reporter. Do you know what this reporter is famous for?
No.
No.
Breaking the Theranos story.
Oh,
So the
yes.
guy is not like, I mean, at least wasn't a scrub, right? Elizabeth Holmes had everybody fooled except this guy. But now he's using, I mean, we were kind of talking before the show started how he like did AI searches or whatever. Like he did this investigation with Claude, said made no mistakes, and then went public with it, right? Like, so like, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on over here, but just to, I think Brandon mentioned it a few weeks ago, totally different vein, obviously, but Gelman amnesia. Okay.
Yep.
If you see something, some story in a domain in which you are an expert, sort of a primary expert, you know that it's not true. You know how flawed the rationale is, how flawed the reasoning is, how flawed the process is. And then you turn to the next page and they tell you that, the problem with the Strait of Hormuz is Donald Trump. Like, you got to think that maybe Claude did that one too. And it's time to start casting a little doubt on the stuff that you read in that publication, not just from that author, because there's an editorial team behind all these things. It's amazing that the same guy who was able to uncover Elizabeth Holmes with much less. I mean, the Holmes thing is what, 10 years old now, maybe more. I still think it's 2020, so it's probably even older than that. But that was a huge break for that whole industry, and obviously for this guy. She was on the cover of Time magazine, Forbes 30 under 30, which is just the future list of people who will be indicted for fraud these days. But that was a big thing to crack. And now the same guy just has zero journalistic integrity running this investigation for the same magazine or same newspaper. Disappointing, man, big time. Because that guy presumably knows what he's doing and just maybe caved to the pressure, or is another guy who's desperate for Bitcoin to fail, like so many other journalists. It seems like it's sad state of affairs over there, man.
I got to pull this up quick. I don't know if you guys saw this earlier in the week, but it immediately made me think of this. That you can have really smart people that are really good in one area and do something like you're talking about, Joey, and then be completely retarded when it comes to Bitcoin or something else. Did you guys catch this clip?
I saw a bit of this. Let's watch it. Yeah, let's watch it.
Yep.
I wanted to come back to something you actually said earlier. You talked about Bitcoin briefly. I've heard you say that you think Bitcoin's going to zero.
Yeah.
Okay, this is worrying. I think I have some Bitcoin. You're an economist. You're saying that Bitcoin is going to zero. Why?
Because ultimately, because of its reliance on energy. I mean, your Max Kaiser and Stacey Herbert, have you met them at all?
No.
They were sort of the original proselytizers for Bitcoin, and they're now living in, I think, El Salvador, which has adopted Bitcoin as a form of currency. When they told me about Bitcoin, I could have bought it for £1 of Bitcoin, which I would have been bloody wealthier than you if I'd done that. The reason I didn't is they explained that the way that the public ledger is kept safe is that it takes too much energy to break it. So each transaction requires 10 minutes of computer processing time globally, by the looks of it, to actually create an extra Bitcoin. And that means it's too expensive for somebody to try to break the ledger. That means it's got a huge requirement for energy use. And I believe, knowing what I know from climate scientists, that at some point we're going to realize we're using far too much energy on the planet. We've got to cut the energy consumption. And the two easiest things to cut out to reduce energy consumption are cryptocurrencies and international travel.
I wanted to come back to something
You hear that? They're going to cut international travel because that's gonna fly.
Nobody knows
And
from
Bitcoin.
climate scientists.
How many squares on
Guys.
your bingo card there did he hit?
Wild.
Climate scientist, could have bought it cheap, Max Kaiser, energy consumption. It's amazing.
It's Mad Libs, Joey. It was just
It's
Mad
just-
Libs.
It's just the
What I know
same
from a bunch
shit.
of retards is
same
I mean,
shit all the
So
time.
confident in their position, right? He's on Diary of a CEO. This is a massive podcast. He's brought on as an expert. He's an economist, and he's totally comfortable saying this, not only with a straight face. He has no idea about his gaps in knowledge and what he's missing. He has no fucking clue. He thinks that was smart. He thinks that was smart. It made him look good.
There was another I don't know what account it was, but it went kind of viral this week too. Like the Rippler Stellar or Stellar Lumen account. There was one of those big accounts on X, and it was one of the altcoin accounts, and it was like the CIA quietly just told the truth that they created Bitcoin to whatever the hell, and it was like I just wrote under there. I was like said from someone who works at the CIA. Like this is exactly if I worked at the CIA, this is exactly the post I would make, and it had like a bunch of just getting ratioed or whatever, right? So it's just like again, it goes back to what we said earlier. Does it even matter? Does any of this matter? And that's where the signal's lost in all this noise of. They can't shut Bitcoin down. There's the signal. So what are they doing? Creating noise, just endless noise day after day for 17 straight years. And this is the thing that people miss. And you go back to like Bitstein and Pierre Rochard just in the last year or two, right? Where they go back and they're looking to see what did we get right? What did we get wrong? And it was.
Wait a minute. Tell people about this. This is the Reorg podcast you're talking about.
Yeah, and they were going through the Nakamoto Institute and just seeing like the things we wrote over the years. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? And then you juxtapose that in Nolan Bowerley, who we just who talks about Gell-Mann amnesia all the time, for years now. And so you have this world where he said this. I remember like 5 years ago, he would always say like, you look at Paul Krugman, look at these people from the fiat system, the economists, the Keynes, the Steve Hanke. These guys age like cheese, right? And a Bitcoiner ages like fine wine because we come from first principles. We acknowledge our gaps. None of us know everything. But we acknowledge those gaps and say, hey, how can we deductively reason these things, A plus B equal to C, but like economists, this fiat world doesn't do that. So everything they do, the Krugmans, like the fax machine, and it's, all the internet's gonna be like the fax machine, none of it stands the test of time. And almost right when it comes out of their mouth, almost generally now, it's completely false right away. It doesn't take like 10 years even. But a Bitcoiner, that's why it's funny that, Pierre and Bitstein doing this, because generally what they have written, or many Bitcoiners, or you can go back and look at our shows over time, they're generally going to be right. All the things that we've said generally fall on the right side of history because we're trying to come from first principles. Not that we get everything right. So I think it's very important to have that auditing mechanism of Bitcoin, the transparency, the open source protocols, because it's going to continue standing the test of time because they only have FUD. That's all they have, and they try to dupe people over and over and over again until things like this happen. The war, hey, the final settlement, what's happening, what Iran's doing, these big nation states, whatever it might be, the Canadian truckers, these things, really jolt people forward and progress humanity further and further. We have, and I've mentioned this before too, Glenn Beck, some of the legacy media people talking trust but verify now, using the words that Bitcoiners use because people are starting to understand I can't just go with the Paul Krugmans and what these morons have been saying for 30 plus years. It just doesn't cut it anymore.
Agreed. Ben?
Yeah. I think in general, the takeaway, as we discussed in the first story with the straight and all of that, it perfectly outlines that it doesn't matter who Satoshi is, because even if we knew, he has no control, right? Like there's no way, even knowing who created it, for that person to exude any sort of control or change around it. In fact, knowing Bitcoiners nowadays, whoever it was, all like 50% of the Bitcoiners would tell him to go fuck himself. Right? Like that's how it would go down. It'd be like, oh, this is the guy, we actually have cryptographic proof, and it'd be like,
tar and feather him, fuck him.
Pledder's got the thread ready with the Bitcoin talk tweets.
Like it's just it's completely irrelevant. Personally, I hope we never ever find out, because it will, in the long run, it won't matter, but it will be a period of time where people just use whoever that person is to paint it in the light that they want it to be. And so with an individual, there's always going to be faults, and you'll always be able to be like, well, they said this or they did this in their regular life, and so that means Bitcoin is this. It's not. And that's why it's important that there's nobody at the head of it. But if that ever comes to light, then
I was going to say, it's one of the reasons I really hope that Satoshi's coins are moved by the far off ferry of quantum at some point in time. Because then we'll never know. If quantum moves Satoshi's coins before he's revealed, there's no way to know his identity for sure. That mystery is locked in.
It's over. Yeah, you're right.
It's over.
Yeah.
This is part of the demographic shift too. And we just talked about this earlier. We talked about this a lot, where in the next 10 years, 20 years, like you think of like people like the guy who created fire, Prometheus, or like whoever it is, right? But if Prometheus stole your wife, then you'd be pissed. You'd be like, you know what? I'm not going to use fire. This is an amazing discovery because I'm pissed at this guy. Like this is like what Bitcoin is to Steve Keen. Like he's mad he didn't buy in at $1 or whatever he just admitted. So he's gonna F this, F Bitcoin. This is dumb. But someone born 20 years from now, like all of our kids, they're not going to care who it was or what happened. Like they don't care. But it's like, it's just all this ego and pride that keeps people back in this bridge time that we're in. And it just doesn't matter 10, 20, like Ben said, the properties still haven't changed and no one can control it. And then 10, 20 years from now, when you look out, no one will know what the hell was actually happening back then. Just like we don't know who created, I don't know Henry Ford. I don't know who created the car, but I don't care. It gets me from point A to point B.
What if Hitler creted the automobile?
Well, Epstein drinks chocolate milk. Not going to drink chocolate milk. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Hugo Boss are still good suits.
I've got a Hugo Boss. Again, like it is what it is. Gentlemen, I do want to, as a palate cleanser to the idiocy we just witnessed, I'd like to tee up a tweet that I think is a bit of a win. Now, there's some nuance in everything that's said here. I'm sure there's going to be some disagreement on some of the points, but the overarching theme of it, I quite enjoy. So I want to pull up this tweet here from Bruce Fenton. And he's talking about treasury companies, the CEOs, Bitcoin treasury companies. My advice to treasury company CEOs: take the weekend and plan. Monday morning, convene your board and say that the market has shown that this strategy is not additive and that you must pivot. Get a vote to move all Bitcoin or digital assets off centralized exchanges. Cancel all financial engineering schemes, ATMs, stock buybacks, new stock issuance, etc. Eliminate positions not related to revenue or pivot positions into revenue generation. Stop taking calls from bankers. Tell them if they want to work with you to present something that adds to top line revenue. Ignore everything else. Focus all future effort on revenue generation. Stop the hype. Pubcos are not some altcoin you can game the market with. cut advertising, marketing, memes, and hype, and focus on selling your product if you have one. If you don't, get one. If you want to hype something people will buy from your company. Be able to explain your core competency and what your business does, what it needs, it serves, without mentioning the treasury and holdings. And so what he's getting down to the crux of here is, yeah, again, what I said earlier, provide value to others, spend less than you earn, and save in money that nobody can print. I think the same advice for an individual can equally apply to companies. Now, I know that the current financial system is full of all kinds of levers and all the kind of bullshit that people can take advantage of right now and do all of these, all of these different kind of like financial engineering schemes to make money and everything. But I think over time, that kind of shit will be somewhat less effective, and that we may return to a time where it's just like, hey, do you build good stuff that people need? I think that having broken money necessitated the rampant speculation that is just existing and trying to make it to retirement now. And that a lot of that stuff, it doesn't disappear because people still like to speculate, but it becomes less prominent. We built up Wall Street and shit like that over the past number of decades, especially post-Nixon shock. And I look forward to a time when what Bruce is describing here of just being a good company that makes good stuff is the winning strategy. I don't know how close we are to that, but I just like the sentiment there. So I'm curious your guys' take on this.
Well, quickly, and I'll give it to Joey because I know he wants to jump in there right away. I just wanted to say that I think from what we read earlier, a toll business might be a great way to go. Joey?
Is he taking shots at MSTR in that?
I don't know.
It looks like it to me. I think the MSTR guys would say that their press stack is the product they offer now. Look, I am partial to this opinion, this view that Bruce has, that these other Bitcoin treasury companies need to get off this train now, because you're seeing them get crushed one by one, right? Like, no matter who you are, if you don't have the treasury fortress that Saylor's got, you're not going to be able to participate in the financial engineering that he's, laying out a pathway for. So it's funny that Mike gets on stage at these conferences and is like, we're making the playbook publicly available. And it's like, well, what about your fucking 100 million Bitcoin? He's got almost 1 million Bitcoin in the treasury now. I think he's like 700 something thousand.
I'll pull it
so
up.
it's
800.
Yeah, so he's got a ton of Bitcoin in the treasury. Unless you make that public too, Mike, it's hard for anyone to follow the path there. That aside, I agree. You are always selling something. And if people don't know what you're selling, then they don't know what they can do with you, for you. You're difficult to put into a productivity matrix for others, whether you're professional, personal, or even in your relationships. You need to be thinking about these things all the time. And in an era where more and more we are finding that even as AI begins to proliferate, if you're not an expert in something, you're easily identifiable as a charlatan, whether you're making shit up on Twitter or starting a marketing company with an AI website, AI slop cannon type output. It's pretty easy to tell who gets it and who doesn't. You want to be somebody who gets it.
Agreed. You have to do something of value. This is the thing. There's no getting around work. There's no getting around work. No. You have to go out there and do work. There's no way for you to survive otherwise. You have to go out there. Like, it goes back to our basic fundamental biology. Like, you have to go out and find calories or you die. You're going to have to go out there and do work. Your company's going to have to offer something of value. They're going to sell some service, some product, something.
It's funny. Like, I'm going to pump I'm going to pump you guys up for a bit. I used to shit on the thumbnails, shit on them. I hated them. I thought they were the dumbest thing in the world. They may still be dumb. I have no idea.
They are.
But you know what? I see the amount of work that you guys put in to making sure the thumbnail is something that people want to click on so you can get the message out to people. And like that takes a lot of effort, man. And the AI stuff, in the minds of the people who don't pay attention to that sort of thing, all they see is like an AI assisted thumbnail and they go, he didn't even do this. Brother, let me tell you, okay? Let me tell you. If you start making thumbnails for yourself, for someone else, whatever, you will find that the AI, you will be bringing your laptop to the toilet, my brother. Okay. And going on that bot, this Claude bot, and trying to find stuff that works. What is the thing today? What is the thing this week? And if you get it wrong, it's a data point. You add it to your collection of data points. It's like a nonstop grind, no matter what. No matter what you're doing, you have to be good at it. You have to pay attention. You have to iterate and grow and develop. And then you got to sell yourself. And if you can't sell it, then it's not worth anything. You got to try something else. But, you know, I look at something as basic as that I think a lot of people just look at and go, oh, this is dumb. You have no idea. You have no idea.
Again, just to your point, what happens whenever there's a classic book that's been around for ages and then they do a movie on it? The books in the bookstore, they slap on the movie poster on the book. Yeah. It's the like the people that originally read the book, even if it's a completely diverged from the original content, they slap the movie cover on the book because it, like, what does it? It gets eyeballs. It gets people to pick up the book and read the book. When we started doing the thumbnails like they are now, nothing materially changed with the conversation in the show and like previously. Same with like tutorials, all that stuff. It's just the packaging that appeals to people and importantly appeals to maybe some people that weren't in the Bitcoin space before. That's kind of what it's so like the people that are Bitcoin here curious. And exactly. And I know there's going to be people in the chat that are like, I hate the thumbnails. I feel you. I understand. Totally get it. But like they're kind of in a way like you guys are here because you like the conversation, but there's also going to be people that clicked on the thumbnail because they were outside of the Bitcoin space, but they're like, oh, this looks interesting, and then they came and now they hang out with us. I think that's kind of the crux of it, and you see that in other areas too. And like it's not just like AI make me a thing. It's like no, there's like a ton of data points that go into it, and it is what it is. It does function. Yeah, Brandon,
that
sorry,
Photoshop document has so many layers.
Yeah, it's so many layers to it, and it's funny because there's been a couple like tweets lately. People like Chains kind of going mini viral in the Bitcoin space and just be like, oh, all the podcasts are the same. There's the same macro bullshit, and it's like, I know, like for me, macro, and I know some of you guys, like the macro fucking doesn't exist in my world. Like Bitcoin renders a lot of that moot because I own Bitcoin for X amount of time, just like any of you could. Like we've painted this picture of the next 10 years, what's going to happen with Bitcoin. Macro in your life could be rendered moot. It's the community. It's the people that want macro. It's not like I would sit here and talk about, adoption, with Bitcoin and the tools and actual inside, but the people want it. But to Ben's point, you have to get those people in. And then in order to have this conversation, because the conversation doesn't really change. We're talking about freedom. We're talking about these things, but you have to get people in the door. And so it's not that the content creators are doing this. It's what the market's telling us or telling, us that they want. So anyway, the financial engineering part still works, unfortunately, right? Going back to this topic a minute ago, and that's where like providing value to society is still the best thing. And ironically, we brought up Pierre earlier, and I saw him in the comments of Bruce's thing arguing with people and saying like, yeah, well, no, it's great. Like this is the thing, right? So multiple things can be true though. And in this show, we've been talking about this bridge world of having to get from this old world of financial engineering, all the malincentives of fiat, to this new world. So pragmatically speaking, and kind of what Joey's saying too, like that world exists still. Like the capitalism harder, bro. Like, and I know a lot of Bitcoiners are against that, but you got to be pragmatic. I think a lot of us Bitcoiners, we get in trouble sometimes because we're so idealistic. We're so visionary at times. We're still looking way far in the future. We live in the future. A lot of us do. So you come back to this real world, everyone lives in this old world still. Like there's no one behind us right now. Like there's very few people. So you have to live in these two worlds and understand that exists. And so you're speaking like, it's like two ships passing in the night a lot of times. So Bitcoiners really have a hard time with that from everything I've seen over nearly a decade of just trying to live in both of those worlds. And it makes me think of Matteo Pellegrini. When I talked to him a few months ago, he's like, because he really gets on this too, and he gets going on. He's like, Sailor should be able to play these. God love Matteo. He's going to be able to play these fiat games. He has to sell his yacht. If he wants all that Bitcoin, he's got to sell his yacht.
That is not where he's going to be getting a lot of Bitcoin from.
Exactly. So anyway, it's just, capitalism, that this is still the part of the capitalism that exists, like capitalism harder. If you got boys at the Fed, well, guess what? You're going to be using those connections at the Fed. You're going to be printing yourself some money. And hey, that's what Sailor's playing the game. Don't have to play or hit the game. You could do that too. We're just choosing to go touch grass more and hang out with each other. We're not going to the halls of DC or setting up shop next to Langley. That's just not what we do. You know, we could do it. Doesn't mean, you know, you can't not do, you know, so we have those things. I think we just have to be good at living in those two worlds and understanding that real power, like we Lowry, we mentioned earlier, software, real power versus abstract power, and living in these two worlds. And this is absolutely playing out. Again, we talked about zoom out. The simple things are the true things, and that's it's just happening, just not in the time frame we always want it to be.
Yeah. To kind of tie it all together, I like the theme that we settled on here. That proof of work. It's an underlying ethos that I think is important that people hone in on. Sometimes it does get thrown to the wayside in the Bitcoin circles too. But you know, for the core of people that have stuck around for a while, they'll recognize like there's, like you said, Nathan, there's no way around it. You got to do the work to see the fruits of your labor, right? So you know, and part of that as Bitcoiners is also to like do the learning, do the groundwork when, you know, we're still, we had a little price bump from the Hormuz stuff, but you know, we're still like down from all-time highs, and, you know, use this time to learn, to level up, to do the work so that you're secure later on, right? So, you know, sort through the tutorials. There's lots of stuff that you can be learning right now, especially if you're relatively new to the game. Start learning about hardware, start learning about, you know, how to keep your stack safe, how to be private, how to get non-KYC corn, all that kind of stuff. Super important. Don't let this time go to waste. So with that, I'll round out here. Again, if you need any help with any of that, myself and Nathan, of course, over at BTC Mentor, you can hit us up, QR code there. But again, peruse the free tutorials on the channel too. They can definitely help you level up. And otherwise, you can reach out to me and Nathan and talk to us and our team directly. But Joey, Brandon, Nathan, this was an absolute blast. Everybody that joined in, this was an absolute blast. Make sure you slap that like button, give this a share. And we'll see you guys next time. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This was Bitcast. When I first got into Bitcoin, I was overwhelmed. The jargon, the security risks, the fear that one mistake could cost everything. I remember staring at my screen and wondering, are my keys safe? Did I do this right? That experience is why I started BTC Sessions. For over a decade, this channel has helped millions of people like you learn how to use and secure Bitcoin. But I realized something. For many people, videos aren't enough. Everyone learns differently. Some need to ask questions in real time as an expert walks through their setup, their goals, and their threat model. And certain things like advanced cold storage, inheritance planning, privacy, and node or mining setups often can't be fully solved by watching another tutorial. So I built BTC Mentor. I recruited the best Bitcoin educators on the planet to work with you one-on-one. Real experts, real answers, personalized hands-on guidance tailored to your exact situation. Whether you're brand new or building a complex setup, we meet you where you're at and walk with you step by step. By the end, you don't just hope your Bitcoin is safe, you know it is. If you're ready for that level of confidence, then head to btcmentor.io and book a call with us today.